Today's video is brought to you by my amazing patrons on Patreon. Priority deck requests and extended discussions are just some of the many perks you get for being a patron. Consider supporting the channel today. Welcome back to today's build. Whether you're just looking for upgrades or have no idea how to build this deck, I'll be your guide to this wonderful game we all love. Let's get started. Today's deck deals only in brutality. His name is Abaddon, and this is Cataract Casino. Much like Megatron, Abaddon asks for a setup of damage and offers a very strong payoff for your spells. The most reliable, consistent sources of damage you can find, of course, are creatures. And there are a large number of evasive creatures in these colors doing things we want at very convenient mana costs for us. So first and foremost, this is a creature deck. Next, we'll note that we're not actually rewarded for dealing excessive amounts of damage. If our opponents lost 9 life, that would give Cascade to everything we'd ever dream of casting. The only utility to be found in dealing more damage is that our opponents get closer to losing, which is not a bad thing either. So we'll not be running a lot of burn spells. Instead, our primary source of damage will just be our creatures. Our commander also doesn't reward us for cascading more and more times, but if we can find cards that we want to cast that could scale to the number of spells we've cast this turn, our cascades can generate even more utility. So we'll keep an eye out for Storm-esque payoffs. Nothing about our commander asks you to cascade as a setup cost. Cascade is really its own reward, and while redundancy is valuable, these cards don't really provide it. We should be leaning more towards casting from our hand, since that's part of our setup cost. Effects that trigger when we cast from exile need to be contributing to our primary game plan of burning opponents out. But that gives me an idea. We instead ran a few clones that could copy Abaddon. Not only do we get a 5-mana trampler, but each instance of Cascade triggers separately. So if Abaddon is removed, we have redundancy, and when he sticks around, we can storm through more cards in ways that are strictly better than Wild Magic Sorcerer. Since we're playing a creature deck, our board wipes need to be one-sided. Sweepers most hurt the players who commit the most to the board, and in this deck, you are the player committing most to the board. We'll swap these out for some more asymmetric interaction. These cards all deal damage to opponents, but they specifically do so on the basis of casting instants and sorceries. As previously discussed, the most consistent, reliable, repeatable sources of damage are creatures, not instants and sorceries. Effects that rely on instants to deal damage are going to be at a disadvantage here. Let's swap them out for these cards to more reliably burn through enemy life totals. So what do our lands look like? Because our commander costs 5 mana and will regularly be casting heavy mana value spells, we'll be running a few more lands than usual, and even some bounce lands to make sure we can keep hitting land drops. After that, Fiery Islet and Spiderrock Knoll both provide a lot of advantage our deck can use at very affordable costs. Beyond that though, you'll just want lands to fix your mana, because our turn 3 plays probably need it. So what's our timeline? To open the game, you need a ramp by turn 2. So we're running all the signets and talismans we can to make that happen. After making our land drop on turn 3, we'll have 4 mana and can cast any of these evasive beaters that continue to generate advantage over the life of the game. Turn 4 is our target for Abaddon, so that we can get started cascading early on. But if your playgroup responds to the explosive power this can present, you may need to wait a turn so you can hold up protection. With Abaddon in play, we'll attack and spend some interaction to slow down enemy boards and catapult ourselves into the lead off the Cascade. With our enemies crippled and our board presence swelling, we'll draw through the deck with these cards until we can find a card that translates "I'm winning" into "I won." Its early beaters ensure that we can always turn on Cascade with Abaddon in play, and when he isn't in play, they still offer consistent advantage over the life of the game, and are the real all-stars of this list. The occasional life gain coupled with the explosive power of Cascade keeps us resilient, and the abundance of ways to deal damage in a 4-player format make sure our opponents are also contributing to our game plan even if they don't realize it. A very special thanks to all my amazing patrons. When I started this channel, I wanted to talk about deck building decisions with my videos, but in practice what ends up happening is that I talk for 30 minutes about all the nuance of a deck, which is longer than I'm comfortable with posting to YouTube. Here, patrons can request priority deck techs, access extended discussions on their favorite decks, in-depth guides on complex game actions, and more. So if you enjoyed this content, consider becoming a patron today. One of the things my patrons have made possible is a special series of deck techs that I'm really excited to show off to you guys. When I finally get them all uploaded, I'll be giving away a special collection of altars and tokens that I've made, corresponding to each deck on the channel. For example, for the Merkle Lord of Bones deck, the prize is a set of double-faced altars of the most prominent cards in the deck, whose backsides are set in the constellation frame with updated text to show that they're acting as enchantments now. For every 1,000 views on each video, I'll increase the prize pool for that deck. All you have to do to be eligible to win is be subscribed to the channel. Consider supporting the channel today. If you like this video, here are some of the decks I'm working on next, so if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any, and check out the playlist in the top left for more. Thanks for watching!